back with another sewing video. Today we're going to show you how to hem store-bought curtains. Stick with us. I'm so happy to be back doing another sewing video. It's been way too long. Hopefully there'll be more coming up. I'm still in the process of getting the project room set up for sewing and finding a place that gives me a lot of inspiration to kind of get to do it even when I don't feel like doing it in the day, but once I start to really enjoy it. So this is a project that take a little bit of time. It's straightforward, but if you haven't done it before, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I'm going to walk you through the steps. So this was the curtain that I purchased. There's overall 4 panels, and they're quite long, and we have to shorten all 4 of them. Now I chose to go right down to the floor, to touch the floor, because there are baseboard heaters there. However, we never turn those baseboard heaters on. So if you are using baseboard heaters, make sure they're quite above, because I guess there's a risk of catching fire. So you want to be safe there. Make sure they're well above if you have a heat source down below. All right, here we go. Okay, the first step for me is ironing. Seems like a little bit of, maybe it's not a necessary step. You could probably get away without it, but I do think it makes a big difference. You want the fabric to lay flat, and you want to get it as square and straight as possible, and ironing really helps with that, of course, especially when you're working with really large pieces of fabric. I think iron is a necessary step, and the fabric that I'm working with is linen, so this will be more or less my iron that'll work for when I put up the curtains so that they don't look too wrinkly. The linen kind of can hold the wrinkles. So you can see here, I have a curtain and it has these back tabs, which I really like. I am not super into the grommets. I find it really hard to find a curtain that doesn't have grommets, so I was really excited to find these. And I got a bit of a deal, like I said, but they're linen and they're lined, so that's going to make the project just a little bit of extra step involved with that. So I'll show you how. So first step is ironing. So everything's ironed, and I just want to show you, don't be too hard on yourself. I don't know if you can tell it in the video or not, but like this is the finish, like manufactured kind of finished edge. And you can see like this is not straight, and this part here is a lot longer. Like this is not even straight. But I mean, I'm guessing that once you put it up, you wouldn't really notice it a whole lot. So again, I mean, we're going for perfection, I suppose, but don't beat yourself up if it's not. And let's see on the other end here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's like all kinds of crooked. All right, let's see if we can do a better job. Okay, this is pretty straightforward, but I'm just gonna write out my measurements. So you have your whatever measure from the top of your curtain rod to where you want your curtain to end. So that's your desired length. So I have 2 pieces of fabric. So I'm going to make the first cut. Desired length plus 3.5 inches, and then the second cut, just going to cut the lining only. We're going to take off the 3.5 inches. Now you could do it as 2 separate steps, but I think for me it was just easier to do it like this. So really then your lining is going to end up to the desired length, and you're just cutting your fabric 3.5 inches longer because we need that for the fold. And then doing it this way too, we'll see that when we fold over the lining, it will hide sort of the seam of the fabric, which I think looks a little neater. So then there's only 2 cuts, and you open up the side seams so that you can lay everything flat. And then we're going to the fabric, we're going to fold (1/2 inch) and then iron. and then fold it in again. So that's 3 inches iron. And then the lining, I'm gonna fold 3 centimeters, and it just worked out because it was just lined up for me perfectly on, I know I probably shouldn't do it in centimeters and inches, but it just worked out easily on the ruler. So whatever that is in inches, you can do that. So fold 3 centimeters in the iron, and then fold in to meet iron. Okay, so that's really, it's really straightforward, but for me, it just helps to write it out, and hopefully it helps someone else there. And again, as we go through the steps in the video, it'll all come together. Okay, this is a little tough. This curtain is really not straight. So what I did was just check that I folded it in half lengthwise, and use something to check that to see that I have it square at the top. Now again, I don't know if you can see this, but I've laid it out on the floor, and it just veers off to the right. So this is makes it a little bit harder to measure for sure, because I want to try to straighten it up. So we'll see what we can do. I'm going to measure up just 13.5 inches from the bottom, because that's my desired finish length, plus 3.5 inches, so that I have space to, so I've marked that there. And we know that the bottom of this curtain is not straight, so otherwise I would try to use the grid lines on this board to straighten it up, but if I do that, I'll continue to cut it crooked. So I'm going to use a right angle and just use this instead. And then I'm just going to trace that line right down there, and then I'm going to cut. So in order to cut the line, I have to let out the side seam. So I'm going to take my seam ripper, which I should have that before we start recording. Okay, so in order to cut the lining, I have to undo these side seams. So I'm going to go quite a ways up. So here's one, because we have to measure up 3.5 inches, which is quite a bit. A little bit further. Go. Let's do another one. So I just want to get that fabric out of the way. Okay, I've squared it up, and I'm just going to measure up 3.5 inches. Okay, we're going to do all of our folds now. So I'm heating up my iron again, and I've got my trusty little ruler. I don't know what these are called, but I find these really super handy when you're doing this type of hemwork. So this is the fabric, the outside of the curtain. So we're going to fold that in. We're going to fold that in 1/2 inch, and then we're going to fold it again in 3 inches, like that. But the lining, of course, we have to fold it in 3 and then another 3 inside. Okay, but they're folding into different directions. So one's going up, they're both going up, but they're both going on the inside. But just be careful when you're ironing it, because the way you place it onto the ironing board can be a little confusing. Ask me how I know. All right, so I'm going to start with the fabric. Now we're making our second fold. We're folding up in on the raw edge, which is in the inside of the curtain, up 3 inches. We're just going to continue along the length of it, measuring 3 inches. We just finished folding the fabric. Now, we have to flip this over because we can't fold this the same way that we were folding the fabric. Anyhow, I think you know what I mean. So we have to flip this over. So now we're going to measure it. I'm going to use 3 centimeters. I'm going to go do the same thing, go along the whole length of it, up 3 centimeters. Okay, one more iron fold. So we're going to take that 3 centimeter fold that we just did. And then just fold that up on itself. And I have to take out more of this. We don't really need to measure, but just making sure I've gone perfect with the fold. So we're just going to do that. On the whole length. And then we're going to hit the sewing machine. now the fun part, the sewing, where it all comes together. So I don't know this would make a big difference. I feel like it does, but I'm going to make sure to sew with the outside part of the fabric curtain facing up, so I get like the top stitch part here, and that makes it a little difficult. You can't see here probably, but what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the seam where I'm sewing is just in from the outer edge, but making sure not to miss the edge. So the edge is sort of like here, and then my needle's here in the middle. So it's like not even a quarter of an inch probably. And before this video started, of course, I checked my tension, positioning of the needle, and stitch length, and did it on a test fabric piece and got the matching thread for the fabric. So here we go. And you probably don't really need to do a back stitch here because it's going to come into the fold, but I'm going to do a little one anyways. You always start your sewing machine with the needle in, back stitch. And linen is like one of my favorite things to sew with. It just lays flat. It's easy. I think easier than cotton. Okay, just gonna stop and take a look. Looks good. Oh. I can see it from the... All right. And off we go to do the lining. Now to do that, I have to change my needle thread because it is white. And if you saw one of my videos a while back, it was just the sort of unboxing of the Singer sewing machine. So I've done not many projects, but a few projects with the sewing machine, and I think it's a fantastic machine. Basic, sturdy, seems like really good quality. So I would, at this point, recommend it, especially for the price point. Okay, now we're doing the lining. So we're going to, same thing, make sure that the top part is on the so here's the inside of the curtain. And so I'm going to fold it with our fold there, and then I'm going to make sure that I'm sewing on the top here, and just again along the edge here, which I can sort of feel and even see as I sew. Okay, so now we're just on to the last step. I've heated up my iron, and we're just gonna fold this over twice. And then line it up. Might help if we press this down a bit first. Stick a couple pins in this in case it doesn't want to fold. That'll look good, I think. And then when we stitch, because we did the seam ripper, we're gonna have to start like maybe up here, go forward and back to secure this. We're gonna do the other side, same thing. Cut some of those strings off. Use the actual fabric scissors. And for a second, I just want to compare it to the original. So this is the store-bought end of the curtain. And then this is our curtain. So again, don't give yourself a hard time because this curtain wasn't cheap and it's by no means perfect, but you know what? It'll still look gorgeous once it's up. Okay, same thing. We're gonna stitch along the top. But this time we have a line to follow, and it looks like it's open here, so we're gonna start like maybe here, and we're just gonna sew all along. Without missing the edge. So here we have it, finally 4 panels done. It's been a long time without curtains, and now in the middle of the night that moon will be shining in and waking us up. I know for many of you, hemming some curtains is a fairly simple project. However, I know even for myself, I have a bit of experience with sewing and it still was a little bit daunting. So just hopefully the video give you a little bit more confidence to tackle this project, because to have the tailor hem 4 panels, I think it would be quite pricey, and you can do it. So just take your time, go slow, don't be scared. So here's the back finished. And in fact, like we showed, probably a little bit straighter than it was when we bought them. And I chose to go to the floor length with these, as I said, because we do not use this electric baseboard heater, so there's no risk of fire there. All in all, happy with this, happy with the evenness of it. Just need to put up some shears in behind to finish it off. So that's it. Hope to get another sewing video to you soon. Got lots of projects on the roster. Hit subscribe if you like this video. We'll catch you in the next one.